Our fifth big idea is to move economic growth to the centre of state government decision making by establishing a Department of Business Growth. New South Wales needs an aggressive pro-jobs philosophy to permeate the whole of government. Our proposal to create a Department of Business Growth made up of the existing Department of State and Regional Development, the Office of Fair Trading, the Better Regulation Office, and a newly created Small Business Commissioner is about reorientating the current state development model to one that focuses on existing businesses. We believe that it is actually easier to get an existing business to create a job than to find a new business to create a job. Our approach integrates state development, red tape reduction, licensing and small business advocacy into one single agency. That agency should be headed by the State Treasurer, who is the only minister other than the Premier who can work across all government agencies. We propose the establishment of a Small Business Commissioner. We believe this should be modelled on Victoria's highly successful Small Business Commissioner. This Commissioner will be an advocate for small business and can help resolve disputes between small business and government or big business. The initiative would deliver tangible support to our state's very important 300,000 small businesses. Our sixth big idea is to encourage growth in regional New South Wales through funding government and business relocations to regional areas. We propose the establishment of a $250 million fund called the Develop Regional New South Wales Fund. This fund, which builds on and amalgamates existing regional development funds, seeks to use a competitive process to provide funding for the relocation of government agencies and businesses to regional New South Wales. We want the $250 million to specifically be directed towards the relocation of businesses and government agencies that would make the largest impact in a regional community. To support this initiative, the New South Wales Business Chamber will be undertaking a regional New South Wales roadshow to highlight the relevance and importance of a viable, economically strong regional sector. Our seventh big idea is to get the politics out of infrastructure by establishing Infrastructure New South Wales. Our approach to infrastructure in New South Wales is modelled very much on the Rudd government's approach to infrastructure, which is that infrastructure priorities should be determined at arm's length from government. We need a single, dedicated infrastructure agency to determine priorities, maximise outcomes for taxpayers, and accelerate infrastructure renewal and development. Importantly, the establishment of a PPP unit will ensure that government develops greater expertise in managing PPPs and develops broader measures for maximising public value that go beyond simply maximising the immediate financial return to government. Our eighth big idea is to take charge of Sydney traffic by appointing a transport czar. Until recently, the day-to-day management of transport in New South Wales was the responsibility of 15 separate agencies. The government has already established a super ministry within transport, and this is welcome. The test, however, is to consolidate decision-making and to actually deliver better transport outcomes. We need one person with total control and accountability for delivering improvements to Sydney traffic. We need a transport czar to make things happen and make them happen now. The new MyZone ticketing system is a great initiative. However, it needs to be backed up by an integrated and electronic ticketing platform. The weekly queues at railway stations for tickets are another disincentive for commuters to use public transport. One electronic ticket that can be topped up online and is usable across all modes of public transport must be our goal. Sydney needs a demand-based strategy for transport and roads because for far too long we have only been focused on supply. We need to have a greater emphasis on peak and off-peak pricing in public transport, peak and off-peak pricing of tolls, incentives to encourage different morning start times for public servants, and we need to investigate other possibilities like different school starting hours. Changing behaviour is always difficult, but it can provide more immediate results to peak traffic times and more cheaply than building additional roads or buying additional trains and buses. Our ninth big idea is to help Sydney prepare for the future by creating 10 super councils. 41 councils in metropolitan Sydney is far too many. The focus of local government continues to get smaller as the challenges facing Sydney continue to get bigger. Sydney needs larger councils with more powers, that are better financed, with full-time elected representatives who focus on bigger issues rather than inefficient, smaller councils that aren't delivering for local communities. Victoria and Queensland both embarked on programs of council amalgamations, and public opinion now backs these stronger, better performing councils. At a governance level, I believe local councils would be better served by representatives who are not also in state parliament. There is a federal ban on federal MPs also acting as state MPs or councillors, and a similar ban on state MPs also acting as councillors should be enacted. We also call for the establishment of a Metropolitan Sydney Planning Committee. This committee, modelled on what has operated within the City of Sydney for over 2 decades, provides for state government involvement in planning decisions worth over $50 million. We believe the New South Wales Government and the broader metropolitan community should have a say in major projects. Our 10th and last big idea is to better prepare young people for the workforce by improving the HSC for students not attending university. The vast majority of students undertaking the HSC have no intention of going on to university for a whole variety of reasons. Employers are saying we need to work harder at preparing these young people for the workplace. We need to start a meaningful community debate about the quality of vocational education and training provided for thousands of students undertaking the HSC who won't then go on to undertake tertiary study. The HSC is a pathway to adulthood that has a very positive social impact on those students who complete it. However, the vast majority of students who undertake the HSC do not go on to tertiary study, and we need a community debate about how we can make those last 2 years of schooling even more relevant to the workplace. The development of a green paper and then a white paper into the HSC can facilitate a broader community debate about improving the vocational and educational and training options within the HSC. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our 10 big ideas to grow New South Wales. These ideas are about answering the question, what must we do as a state to grow? Not just over the next few quarters, but over the next quarter of a century. It's a debate we all have to be involved in, and I will talk a little more about how you can be actively involved later.